Hello, everyone. Yeah, grab a seat. I'm so glad you all could come out. The idea for my talk here and my kind of silly title is that we talk about UEFN a lot. We've been talking about UEFN a lot, and it's all over these things, and it's great. But I want to I guess reiterate why with all this talk about UEFN, why it does matter, and how it's changed really what Fortnite is as a game and what Fortnite players play. But for anyone who doesn't know, and maybe you're here and you have an interest in UEFN and looking into what it is, it's a way to develop and publish content directly into Fortnite. But on top of that, it's a tool that has fundamentally changed what Fortnite is today. And so I want to use this time to show why, with all this talk around UEFN, why it does matter. And so I'm Josh Grant. I'm a creator evangelist for UEFN. I've been at Epic for 4 years now, and before that, I was a creator in Fortnite. And before that, I was a player playing Fortnite. And so it's safe to say that I've spent my fair share of time in the ecosystem, about 6,000 hours worth, if you can't see that, on Fortnite. And that's not even counting my time on console or on my work account. That is my personal account. I've been playing forever. And so, you see, back in the day, back when I started playing, Fortnite was a battle royale, and that was it. I mean, there was Save the World, but Fortnite Battle Royale was what people were playing. In 2017, it was that. And so it was a battle royale game with one map and a limited pool of weapons and 100 players who would drop in and find loot and fight to be the last survivor, and then they win. And then it's over, and they'd start again. Now, that's a pretty repetitive game loop. But the exciting thing was that every week, a new limited time mode and a new weapon were added to the game. And so it kept things fresh and exciting. And these updates are still done to this day. But at this time, 2017, this was a generationally defining moment for gaming, as I'm sure we all know. Games just didn't really update like that. And so I remember getting home from school each update day and instantly loading up Fortnite on my PlayStation and hopping on with my friends and trying out the new mode, finding the new weapons, and throwing that in, because it was nice to mix a new game type along with that traditional battle royale and new loot pool. And it was still the same easily accessible game, but it was just enough difference that kept us coming back each week. And so this format went on for a long time, and it's still going on in one way or another. And so season after season, we'd get on, we'd play all night, day by day, until the next update came out. And then we were rejuvenated, and we were ready to go again. And it kept us coming back to try these new things. And so even though this format's still going on, and Fortnite's still a huge battle royale game with constant updates, I can mark right on this chart exactly where Fortnite started to change, and that was Season 7. That was Season 7, December 2018, and this was the first season that Epic released Fortnite Creative Mode. Now, if you know anything about UEFN, this was not that. Creative Mode, especially at release, was more of a traditional level editor, so you could use some Fortnite assets, and you can make a small mini game, and you could share the code with your friends. This was one of the first things my friends and I made when Creative came out. And I know it's not that pretty, but it was fun. It was really fun. And we wanted something to simulate the endgame experience of competitive battle royale. But more than that, we were solving an even bigger issue, an even bigger problem of ours, which was that every night, my friends and I would always hop on Fortnite. And the issue was that as soon as a fifth friend got on, we were screwed. There was nothing for us to do. We couldn't play BR. So when Creative came out and we decided to make our own game, that was the answer. There were a lot of nights we'd end up with 12 of us wanting to play at the same time. And I'm sure we're all aware there aren't a lot of games that you can party up with 12 people. let alone free cross-platform ones in 2018. And so this was that magical moment for us where we didn't have an answer to our problem, so we thought, why don't we make one? Why don't we make our own game that we can play with all 12 of us? And so that right there, that's the philosophy that started ever slightly changing what Fortnite is. And so the question became, how do we enable more types of games to be made? How do we turn Fortnite from being a battle royale with these little mini spin-off games to an ecosystem with all different kinds of games? And so the first incremental step to that was releasing different devices. And each device does its own different thing. And at the same pace that Fortnite BR was updated, like I mentioned, Fortnite Creative would get updated and unlock new functionality week over week. And so these devices started acting as building blocks towards gameplay, and they still do to this day. So here's an example of how devices are used. In its simplest form, it has a function and an event. And so here I'm using the switch's device function, which is turning on to activate the custom light event, which is to glow. And so using that system, things can get complicated quickly. If you wanted something out of the box, that's easy enough, right? You just throw the device down. But if you wanted something that didn't technically seem feasible, you'd have to start getting creative. And so because each device does something different, we'd end up with hundreds of devices all linked together in the physical world to create mechanics that never seemed possible. And so that's from one of my old games when I was a creator, and that's nothing. I picked a very tame one. There are several creators I recognize in this crowd who would have walls of these devices, like creating whole computers out of the devices that were not meant to do any of that. That blue zone there, that used to be called a sequencer device until we actually got real sequencer. That was introduced to play music. You could play some note blocks, and then you'd step on that, and then it would activate the note block and play that music. Eventually, we started using that to create timers and run mechanics in actual sequences via that device instead of using it for music. And I mean, that's just one of the many ways that creators innovated around specific problems by coming up with just genius solutions. So with devices, Fortnite became a place with all different sorts of gameplay. But they still all felt like Fortnite in one way or another. And so that's where UEFN comes in. UEFN has allowed developers to branch out from traditional Fortnite-inspired games towards games that they define with their own art style and their own gameplay. Here's a quick look at some of our favorites. It's pretty cool. Nice. So to help bring a new world of games to Fortnite, we took a lot of the best tools from UE5 and we combined them with some of Fortnite's previous framework, the devices and the assets and the weapons from those creative days that I kind of just showed you there. And so now on top of those, you also have access to really powerful UE features. Quintessential tools like Control Rig, this is from Boom Tycoon by Future Trash, and they just released the second one that you guys should definitely try out. Sequencer to make AAA quality cinematics at runtime. This is Fracture Reshaped by Genesis Studios. I mean, this one's just ridiculous. I just want to watch this one. It looks like something that we did. It looks like a Fortnite event. And this is all just made by a creator with our assets and their sequencer magic. So cool. And then, of course, Niagara, to create powerful VFX that juice your environment. This is from Tom Jank, who you might have seen at the keynote. Oh, there he is. It's actually from both of them, and Sloth there too. This is from Pizza Shop Tycoon, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collaboration. So fun. But maybe one of the most exciting things introduced with UEFN was Verse. So no longer were the days of having to link 100 devices in the physical world, like my picture there. What if you could just do it all with code? Who ever thought of that? That is awesome. And so that's where Verse comes in. Verse is designed to be the future of Fortnite and really to be the future of game development. You know, we're testing it out and we're building it in UEFN, but Verse is what we're building all of our roadmap off of for UE6, and we really want to build something special here. And so it's already proven great for real-time open world games. It's got a large emphasis on gaming. The people who know more about Verse than me say that it uses the best of functional programming, object-oriented programming, and imperative programming, and combines them into one language that, I mean, there are some real Verse masters in this room. Here's a quick showcase that my friends at Gauntlet put together. This is a little look at how they used Verse to power their Kraken boss fight in Kraken Boss Fight. And Kraken Boss Fight is so much more than just fighting a boss that's a Kraken. It's actually like a whole like RPG around this and quest lines and different dungeons and custom enemies, and I mean it's so polished. They're just incredible. They're doing incredible stuff, and they update it just like I mentioned with Fortnite. They update that thing like every 2 weeks, and there's always more polish, new things being added. You can drive boats in it now. I don't know how they did that. But another incredible tool that's exclusive to UEFN right now is Unreal Revision Control, or URC. And I mean, it's a source control system. You check out assets, you check in changes, and you work collaboratively with your team, but it all takes place in the editor. And so it's made collaborating so easy, especially for someone like me and for a lot of our creators who came from that early Fortnite creative days where you could do everything real time together in the same session. URC, while not live in the same session, it's so fast that you're able to, if I had a building and I want my teammate to take a look at it, I just hit the blue button, the check-in changes at the bottom right of the screen, and within seconds, my teammate, they sync and they have it. So it's not live, but it's made it so fast that, you know, it fits along with that philosophy of like iteration that Fortnite's brought and that we've really emphasized with UEFN. So the long story short of that spiel is that UEFN enables you to do a lot more with less. And so huge initiatives like locomotion and weapon systems and multiplayer, they just work out of the box. That's months to years of dev time that just is there and just works. Think about the access to Fortnite's massive library of thousands of tried and tested assets that we've used for years in Battle Royale, just available for anyone to pick up and play with. And that makes it incredibly easy to focus on creating like a killer game loop and killer mechanics and not having to worry so much about like the art and the optimization of assets if that's not your thing. And if that is your thing, but you want to expand past Fortnite's art style, you know, our own fab marketplace is embedded right in UEFN. And so you can purchase other people's art, you can go make your own art. There's tons of options there to finding the look and feel that you want for your game. And so with UEFN, you have access to Epic Online Services built in, of course. So we'll handle everything from hosting your infrastructure needs, and you just hit publish, and it scales to every platform that Fortnite's on, just like that. And so because UEFN is so tied to Fortnite, It enables you to leverage Fortnite's existing infrastructure to build, launch, iterate, and play your game in live Fortnite with your friends and teammates, all while still in that development phase. All of that comes together to create games like this, which I'll play in a second. This is Xeno Legend by Love Is Real. It leverages both Fortnite assets, custom assets, Fortnite weapons with custom changes and powers layered on top. It's got custom UI. It's got intelligent enemies written with Verse AI. It's got seriously impressive boss fights. This is a mini boss here. They've got much bigger, scarier bosses. But it's a great example of games that are pushing the boundaries, and really it's a must play for everybody here. But this is the awesome roguelike system they have after every level. You guys know what roguelikes are. So if any of that has piqued your interest, and maybe it's something you want to get in on, I'd like to briefly run through what it's like to publish a game in the ecosystem. And so the general flywheel for development in the Fortnite ecosystem looks like this. You build the game, you publish it, and then you get paid. Simple enough. But because iteration with UEFN is so easy, you're often doing all of this at the same time across like several projects. But when you've built your game and you're approaching its release, you go to Creator Portal, which is kind of our one-stop shop for like all your publishing needs. And so when ready, we'll ask you to fill out information about your game, your title, your thumbnail, trailer, and then you'll add tags so that players know what kind of game it is. And then once you've got that done, we'll ask you fill out a survey. It's called an IARC survey. That's how we ensure that it fits within Fortnite's ratings. And then after that, it goes over to our content review team. They make sure it's following our rules. That step really doesn't take more than a couple hours, shouldn't ever take more than a day, which comparatively to traditional game development is not too bad. That's a good launch time. So then once it's approved by our content moderation team, then it's there. It's ready to go live. You just click a button and it's on everything. It's on mobile and console and PC, everywhere that Fortnite is. And so when you publish that game live, your next step becomes getting players on board, which is tricky. There are a ton of ways to go about marketing and getting players into your island. At the core of it all is our Discover page here. Now, when you load up Fortnite and you scroll down, this is what you see. So when I say Fortnite's become a lot more than a battle royale, it literally has. You're kind of given access to all these different kind of games you want to play right alongside the Epic-made ones, and they're all kind of treated as equal options for our players to hop in on. And so Discover's not the only way for players to find your game. We have search, we have creator pages, but I can't emphasize enough how important it is to back your islands with good marketing campaigns and driving players to at least know it exists, right? It's like any game development, making the game is half the battle and then marketing it is the other half. And the same kind of applies here. To help with this, we've introduced features like deep linking, which players can, go right from your tweet or whatever and click this deep link and it'll open up Fortnite and your game will be there ready to launch. This works really, really well on mobile for the creators who are here and the eventual creators. Make sure you're taking advantage of that because it's almost seamless on mobile. Click, it's open, and Fortnite's on mobile now. So to paint a better picture on how much of a role creator-made games have played in the ecosystem, since the launch of UEFN, players have spent 11.2 billion hours played across 260,000 creator-made games, which is just insane. So with creators playing such a large role in what Fortnite is, it's important that they feel their time developing is spent well and it's worthwhile. So when it comes to monetization, our goal is to allow you as the developer to focus on making a fun, retentive, and engaging experience while we pay accordingly to your impact on the ecosystem. And so engagement payouts proportionally distribute 40% of net revenue from Fortnite's item shop and most of the real money Fortnite purchases to creators of eligible islands. So with that, since the launch of UEFN and our engagement payout system, we've paid out $722 million to our third-party creators. And so it's been an incredible journey watching individual creators prop up entire studios around developing in UEFN, and we're only just getting started. So after you started gaining some traction, you'll want to leverage all of our available island analytics in the creator portal that I mentioned earlier to build a strong game that players keep coming back to. And so data is pulled daily to give you a look at the number of players that are visiting and how long they're sticking around for and where they're coming from. We released this back in March, but you can now see analytics based on player geography and their platforms and their sources where they're coming from so that you can better understand your audience and how to cater to their needs. And so just as I'd mentioned at the start of the talk, like Fortnite, the success of your game will usually depend on iteration. That means building and releasing your first game quickly, finding out what the audience enjoys through feedback and analytics, and then pushing updates to capitalize on that feedback, pushing the boundaries over time with new additions to your game, and building a community that will want to keep coming back. And as you build that community through features like follow a favorite creator, updates become a great way to tell your community that something's changed and they should come back. It's the exact same strategy that Fortnite did way back in the day, like we talked about, and that's the strategy that works. All right, so finally, let's discuss the future. For those of you at the keynote, you probably saw this for a split second. I'll leave it up a little more. Maybe if you want to take a picture, I'll also have a QR code after this so you can keep up with it. But there's some really cool stuff on here. We've got Scene Graph launching this weekend, which we just announced. It's been in experimental mode, but it's going into beta this weekend. So now creators can publish games with Scene Graph. That one's really going to change the game and allow a lot more dynamic gameplay at runtime. We've got physics on here in Q3. If you want to test out, that one's also in experimental mode, and if you want to test it out, it's down at the booth. Jay is running our booth there. He's kind of the brains behind our physics system, so go poke his mind. And we got custom game items coming after Scene Graph, and we've got AI-powered NPCs, which you probably saw in the keynote. That's also down at the demo booth, so make sure you go take a look at that. He's very fun to talk to. He's very obsessed with pushing buttons. There's a QR code if anyone wants it. It goes to our Trello board, and we update that. You know, things change. It's game development. Things get pushed. Things get pulled. So you can keep up to date on our Trello board there. So here's a nice broader look at where we've come in these last 8 years. Thanks to all these progressive changes, Fortnite's almost unrecognizable now. It's become a place. It's become an ecosystem full of different games, a social first space where players and friends can join together and play whatever they want, made by players themselves or individual creators or studios or professional developers and indies. It's fundamentally changed what our players go to Fortnite to play. And that's why UEFN matters. So thank you.